What's up, college football fans and Mean Green fans? Sonoy Valenta here once again with the Mean Green Show today, joined by JD as well as Miles, and we're going to recap today's scrimmage as well as maybe some recruiting news that JD has for us. But before we get into all that, guys, you already know the drill. If you're a fan of college football or G5 football, consider hitting that like and subscribe button because that's truly all that we talk about. All right, well, JD, we'll start it off with you, man. I know you, one of your guys, Go Mean Green guys, was there, kind of giving you all the play-by-play. So what are you hearing as far as the scrimmage goes, and just what kind of tidbits can you share with us?
Yeah, the resident Go Mean Green Scout was out there today, and he sent me about 10 pages of text messages. But just to break it down, Cliff Notes version, his opinion, the defense won today. The defense was super impressive. He said there was a ton of exotic looks. He kind of broke down a few of them, but that was kind of his main takeaway. He thought several of the quarterbacks looked good. Rogers, he says he thinks this is a guy that looked impressive that he didn't think. Reuter, he said Jace Reuter had a good day. One offensive lineman that kind of stood out to him was Sampson, the big guy. I think he's 6'8", 6'7", 6'8", but said he moved good. As far as young as he is, he looks like he's came a long way since last year. So that was kind of, in a nutshell, the Cliff Notes version. Defense definitely won today. Capone's defense looks like it could be the real deal.
Yeah, I mean, it was really, especially in the secondary, I was kind of concerned, especially losing Gaddy and Whitlock. I know those were guys that were inconsistent at times, but Tejada and Wilson on the first team and Bryce Linder as safety in the second team looked really good. And Patrick Smith, I think he's a freshman, redshirt freshman. He had a really good day as well. I mean, like you said, defense won the day for sure. The offensive line, though, they made create open gaps. North Texas ran the ball a lot more than I thought. I think there was a total of I think there was probably like less than 30, about 30 or so passing attempts total a day, and Ragsdale had most of the carries too. So I think in my opinion, Rogers looked good on the ground. In the air is a little bit more questionable. He had a few underthrows. One was to Cleveland open in the end zone, that would have been a great catch. Trey Cleveland had an awesome catch from Jace Reuter earlier in the scrimmage, but I think it's going to be between Rogers and Earl for sure at the quarterback spot. Not for sure, but it's a good assumption. But in general, I'm really impressed and hoping to see a fully healthy offense by probably the fall.
Yeah, just kind of something to think about. The defense did really good, and that's with Mason Richards not participating. So that's really kind of something to look forward to. JD, I'll start off with you with this question, and it's about the quarterback competition. And I've said it, and I think I'm still sticking by my guns here, but I think Chandler Rogers is going to be the guy. But do you think we all might just be? I don't know if it's putting too much stock into, but he's coming in with what it is, like 68% completion percentage from ULM. If we kind of took, I know coaches say all the time, like, oh, okay, new slate, but realistically, it's really hard to do. But if it was a hypothetical new slate, I mean, do you think we as fans are maybe putting too much assumption that it will be Rodgers, or do you think that no, we're not? It's going to be Rodgers. What's your thought on the QB competition?
I'm glad I'm not Coach Brophy or Coach Morris. I'll be honest. I think that North Texas's that quarterback room is talented. It's deep. I think they've got several Division I quarterbacks in there. A guy we haven't even talked about yet, JD Head, is a guy that I've heard multiple times in practice that he's been, he may be the best thrower on the team. So yeah, I mean they're, what is it, 5-6 deep of Division I quarterbacks. So. Like I said, I'm not envious of the guy that has to make the decision, filling out that first lineup card of who's starting game one. But I think that Rodgers just brings an element. Not only is he a super accurate passer that can be super deadly in this type of offense, but he's also got the legs as well that, he's definitely the best runner on the team. I know Stone Earl is a talented runner himself. I just think Rodgers brings a dimension that, that we haven't seen since, I think Miles said earlier, Jason Bean was on the roster. So I think that's going to be hard to beat. But like I said, it's going to be interesting to see what happens game one against California. But sitting here today, if everybody stays healthy, I don't know how Rodgers doesn't secure that job and win it.
Miles, before we go to you, JD, I got to point something out that you said that just kind of made me chuckle, talking about how deep our quarterback room was, because it wasn't just a few months ago you and I would talk like, why can't we find a quarterback
Yeah,
whenever? So we've
but
definitely
but I think the old saying is if you have two quarterbacks, you don't have a
that
quarterback. So we've got six. I don't know what that saying is. I don't know if there's a saying for that, but yeah. I mean, it's like I said, there is. I mean, I'm getting text today that Jace Reuter's looking unbelievable. And, he's a
Mhm.
guy that's kind of forgotten. I mean, he came on the scene. Won the starting job within 2 weeks of fall camp, and then he's a guy that hadn't really got another chance. So. Like you said, if it's a clean slate, it's interesting to see how this whole thing unfolds and plays out.
Yeah, Miles, what are your thoughts on the QB competition? You think it's a little more closer than we all thought it was, or
Well, I think it's still so early to tell. This is the first real open event we've been able to watch as a fan. And there's still a lot of time. There's still guys that will come together, and I think it'll be more telling more come fall camp. But I think there was different aspects of every quarterback except for Gunnell. He didn't really play a whole lot, and when he did, it was really just run plays that had a different kind of level toward them. I feel like everybody's improved. Um, like JD said, I think JD had probably the best passer on the team, but Jace Reuter had some really good throws today, especially to one was a Trey Cleveland, one was a Rod Burns for a great touchdown catch earlier in the game. I'm pretty sure it was Reuter. It was either Reuter or Earl had a great pass to Burns. I think it's going to be closer, but Rodgers has that aspect that Jason Bean wish he could have, because Jason Bean was not that great of a passer. In all honesty, compared to his running game, I feel like he could have been. I think Rodgers is a better overall passer. I think he'll be able to expand the offense a little bit more. He has more options too. I mean, he has presumed shorter Cleveland. He has, I would say, Gums. He doesn't have Gums anymore. Ragsdale in the backfield. He has these guys that he has weapons around him to succeed. Ani had the same weapons. Ani didn't succeed as much. I think this is the right guy to succeed in this offense. And I'm not jealous, like JD said, of the guy who's picked the starting quarterback. That's gonna be tough. And I don't know if we'll see a dual quarterback like we did last year. That was kind of weird, but I think whoever wins starting spot's really gonna earn it.
yeah, and to kind of piggyback off of what you said, Miles, like yeah, it's just the first spring
Mhm.
scrimmage. There's so much left to unfold, and even though a lot of them are returning to North Texas, it's a new offense for all of them. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. Well, before we go on to some recruiting news, JD, start off with you. I mean, any 2 or 3 guys that you're hearing from the Go Mean Green Scout as far as who may have stood out as for receivers or anything like that.
Yeah, I just had it pulled up. Smart and Horton were two guys that stood out. Macklin, I mean, kind of the same guys we've heard, all along. But he did say, we have 7 to 8 legit wide receivers, and that's, I've said the other day, I think that this is could be a Power 5 level receiving room. I mean, between Cleveland, Shorter gets back healthy. You got Macklin and Burns underneath. I mean, then that's just 4. And then you still, Horton could be the fastest guy on the team. Smart showed up big time last year. And I know I'm going to forget a couple guys, but those were all those guys kind of stood out today. I think y'all said Shorter didn't practice today. I think they're holding him out till fall. But yeah, I think running back. We know what the running back room is, but I think behind that, the wide receiver room could be probably the second most talented position group on the field. And when I started doing this, I remember there was one year we had Carlos Harris was the whole wide receiver room. So I mean, going from 8 years ago where we had one wide receiver to now where we've got potentially 8 Power 5 caliber top wide receivers is super exciting, especially seeing Coach Morris come in and bring back the air raid type offense. So could definitely be exciting. Some exciting times this fall.
Yeah, I mean there was quite a bit of guys that stood out. I think Nick, how do you say Nick?
Naquasa?
No, yeah. However you say his name, he played really well today on defense. Overall, I think the secondary played better than I thought. I mean, there were several times where Earl and Rogers were thrown downfield, and like Logan Wilson and Ridge Tejada were all over the place, and that's really good. That's a really positive sign. They're a little bit undersized, but still, they really fight hard against some really good receivers. Because Trey Cleveland was struggling a little bit. Even Rod Burns is struggling a little bit, just trying to get open. I think another guy would be on the offensive line, probably I would say Gabe Blair or next to him, I think it was Marika. I think it was either Marika or it was another guy. I forget his name. The offensive line overall played pretty well. I think they're a veteran unit. You know, a lot of this. I think it's everybody's returning from last year. There's no newcomers, which is a positive sign. Dazion Carroll was at center, which was good because it was kind of a question if he would come back or not, but he is. And I think it's kind of hard to just choose one guy, but I would say, I don't know. I mean, Adae ran hard. I would say probably Jordan Smart at the receiver. He played really well, and he's running with the ones. I think it's replaced for Shorter, but he's running with the ones right now. He looks really good. I think I would say Trey Cleveland was one of the better ones. He had a great catch. He looked the best at all the receivers today.
Yeah. All right. Well, kind of moving things over to recruiting. JD, any word on what Coach O and everybody is on that recruiting staff had going on this week?
Yeah, they had a ton of guys on staff, or a ton of guys on campus. I'm trying to pull up. I don't have the exact list, but I've got a couple guys that were there. Jordan Martin, wide receiver from Kimball. He's a guy that I think I like our chances of right now. Supposed to be getting him for an interview here pretty soon, but he was there this morning. Frederick Doty is a safety from Kennedale. He was on campus yesterday, and when you look at a guy like Doty, he's got a super impressive offer list so far. So being able to even get him on campus, I mean, he got an offer from Utah this week. Texas Tech's interested, Utah State, TCU's offered him. So being able to get a guy like that on campus and having a pretty good chance to land him is pretty exciting. But I know there was at least 20 plus recruits on campus, and there were supposed to be 30 plus Texas high school football coaches on campus today. So that's, in my opinion, is super good exposure for North Texas, and it's super exciting because, like I said, there's been times in the past when scrimmages have been locked down to everybody that's not employed by North Texas. So being able to get not only fans but recruits on campus and the Texas high school football coaches, who, as much as we can argue, I mean, they play a huge part when it comes to the high school recruiting game. So, I mean, getting those guys and building relationships with those guys, I think is huge moving forward.
I know it's really way too early, and there will be so much movement from decommits and this, that, and the other. But JD, do you think in the new AAC for this 24 class that North Texas will have a top 3 recruiting class for the 24 cycle?
Top 3 is tough. I mean,
that's Tulane, UTSA, UAB. I mean, there's heavy hitter recruiting programs.
Not to throw shots, but I really do feel like the tide's kind of changing. I'm not as afraid of UTSA with this new staff. I mean, we've seen them go head to head with Traylor a couple times already and get victories. I think it's a little the tide has changed in terms of that. I think SMU is still going to be tough. They're still going to land their transfers. Memphis, Tulane, those are going to be tough. I don't know if I can sit here and say top 3. That's just, I mean, that's some tough competition. I can sit here and say that if we keep trending the way we're trending, the staff keeps, you know, I mean, we just look at the recruits we've already got. If they can keep that momentum kind of going, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibilities to definitely be a top 5 team. I mean, with potential to move into top 3, but I think top 5 is definitely doable at this moment, especially the way everything's going. If we can win some games this fall and keep winning some of these recruiting battles, definitely.
Awesome. Well, exciting stuff. All right, guys. Well, anything else we need to touch on before we jump off?
I'm waiting for that Cal game, and next week there's open scrimmage as well, so that should be fun next week.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, JD, anything else?
I'm ready for some basketball recruiting news. I feel like that should be coming down the pipeline pretty quick. That they're kind of right in the heat of things right now. So poor Ross Hodge, he had no time to even celebrate the NIT title, had to come back, and now he's got to put together a full staff and try to keep some of the players staying, and also not only recruit his own guys, but recruit some guys also in the portal. So that should be exciting to watch here in the next few weeks to see how they reload that NIT championship team.
Yeah, exciting stuff. Well, all right, guys, thank you so much. And as always, go Mean Green.
Go Mean Green.
Go Mean Green.